Welcome, my friends. I guess we are going live. You know what? In times past, I wasn't able to go live just because of all the copyright infringements from all the songs. But I'm glad to see all two of you guys here, or one of you. I see like the little counter of the people there. Well, this is exciting, guys. My phone is on 25%, but I'll work on making this nice and short for you guys. But whatever questions you have, go ahead and put it in the live chat there to the side, and I will work on getting to them. So I had a Facebook friend here just asked me a bunch of questions, so I'll go through those. And I am no pro on all of these, but maybe I can do a little bit. And here we have June that came up. I think June's coming. Would you like to join our live live YouTube coverage? Lovely fiance just came in here, and she happens to be a lovely Caucasian woman. She's the white woman for me. You can just get a chair if you want. Oh, shoot.
Hello.
Hey. Do you want to come in? I can get you a chair. Hold up, guys. Let's get situated.
Okay. I can stand right here.
Doggone it. Doggone it. All right. Can you read me the questions and I will go ahead and answer them over there?
I don't see any questions.
Oh, on my phone right there. Just double tap it. Well, this is exciting. All right, so thanks for joining us, guys. And what's the first question?
What have your personal experiences with racism been throughout the years in places you lived? Overt versus systematic? Was it always present from your childhood, or did it become more apparent as you moved into adulthood? Have you noticed differences geographically?
Ooh, that is a very good question. That's a large question. So when we're talking about racism, in some situations, I'm not sure if the racism that is perceived is from me being black or maybe just people reacting to me. Because I know in some groups I can be quite abrasive, right? she knows that's for sure. I just know I pretty much have interactions with police every month. And I just know that certain kind of questions they ask me, I don't necessarily know that they'd ask other people. And I'm just working from this time going back. Would you agree about the questions? There was this one time I got stopped in Illinois, and there goes my phone. I was stopped in Illinois, and the officer was asking me, questions about how I knew my fiance here, because he wanted to know, like, if I had stolen her, if she was like a sexual worker or something.
Let's back up for a minute.
Yeah.
Your taillights weren't working, so it was probable cause to pull you over. We're not saying that like he didn't have probable cause, because like taillights out, that's a major thing. So the reason why he pulled James over wasn't anything racist. I just want to like put that out there. But when he saw that I was from Massachusetts and he saw this black man coming from Chicago, the profiling then started of, why is this white woman in the car with a black man with no taillights? So that's kind of where it got a little bit like, it was very, and I remember that night because it was like, what, like 30 minutes he took you into his car? Like, he took my license and then he immediately questioned James, and then he was like, hey, can I talk to you in the car? And I thought, oh no, we're in the middle of Illinois, it's late, we're just trying to get back to his place. And like things start going through my mind of like, am I gonna hear a gunshot soon? Am I gonna have to like, deal with his car being impounded? Is he gonna look like somebody? Like, why is it that like he's getting questioned so much? And praise God, it didn't end up being anything, but it was a lot of questions like, how did you meet her? Where, when you getting married? All these things that like, a traffic stop wouldn't like entail normally.
So. I just know, yeah, and that's a good point. So yeah, right. He had probable cause. Are you dipping out?
Yeah, because the dog's getting restless.
All right, sure. Well,
bye everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yes. Good night.
All right, and I will continue. We're just gonna swap places here. Can you get out?
Yes.
Thanks for joining me, Shug.
You're
That's
welcome.
a lovely treat.
Good night.
Good night, Shug. Yeah, so that was a lovely surprise. So yeah, in certain situations when things go on, there was another time, as I said, pretty much once a month, I get stopped, or I have a interaction in which they take down my information. So another time, I was in the neighborhood, and this guy gets me over. Long story short, I'm in cuffs. I'm in cuffs. The guy who refrains from cussing, alcohol, drugs, things like that, right? So I was flexing my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, right? So I was like, I would like to remain silent. And he took this as I was trying to hide something. So, long story short, he puts me in the back of the vehicle, all that stuff. I'm just sitting there, right? Cuffs are mad tight behind my back. I'm just like, oh, man. I knew at that point I wouldn't die, but I'd end up in jail, right? I was on the phone with Katie like throughout this whole thing until I got in the back of the police car. And the only reason that I got out of that situation was Katie called her mom real quick. She's like, Mom, go down there and James is in trouble, right? So mom runs down there and she's like, what are you guys doing? Why do you guys have this young man in cuffs? He doesn't cuss. Like, what are you guys doing? So they get me out of the cuffs, and the cop kind of like talks to me for a second. He's like, the reason I talked to you, I thought something was up, and sorry about this. I was just thinking like the only reason I'm getting out of the situation is because this lovely Caucasian woman is here to talk to you. Anything I said like was not getting me out of that situation, unless I already give all my information right there. So so like I said before, there are certain looks, certain way people act towards me. A part of it maybe because of who I am as a person, or some of it could be about skin color. And when you get those like real like hard looks from people, you like wave at them and they're just like staring at you firmly. Either they want to fight, or in my mind, the other direction my mind goes, my prejudice, my bias is that perhaps they're racist if they're not friendly. If I wave at you and you're just like, that's what I'm thinking. That's where my mind goes. Just because of the days we live in. Also, I want to make sure I cover all of parts of this question without like going too long. But you said childhood. Was there anything in childhood that was kind of apparent? Well, as a child, I can't say that I remember too many things besides this thing came up here. Besides, I still am an energetic person, but as a child, if you put all this energy right here into a small child, teachers that are used to like prim and proper kids think that you have issues. So I was in second grade, and my second grade teacher was thinking I had some major issues. And perhaps I was going through a lot at the time, but the energy level, teacher was like, we need to put this kid on drugs. I'm pretty sure there were other kids in the classroom that had a whole plethora, copious amounts of energy, but I don't think the teacher requested that they go on drugs. So it's just like certain things like that, where it's like, that's interesting. You would, do it like that. So yeah, that's something interesting. And I can do a second video if this isn't enough for you guys. All right. This doesn't have to be the last conversation we have about this. So just going over the question. All right. Have you noticed differences geographically? Yes. Geographically, yes. So believe it or not, the West Coast in different ways feels almost a lot more segregated. And you can almost see that with like the cities themselves. You have like K-Town, right? Yeah, Koreatown. You have like the black area, the Mexican area is kind of like segregated. And when you get into certain churches, it kind of is like that as well, right? And that's pretty much the whole reason why there's like a black conference, right? Because the blacks didn't think that they were being represented properly or getting the power that they needed to serve their communities. And that's why they like broke off, right? I was in the Southern California Conference, and there would be youth activities being done by the white communities. And I would go to like the black pastors and black people like that and be like, hey, so can we join up? Like, why aren't we joining it? And they just didn't feel didn't feel the need to go. It was kind of weird to me, but okay. Weird flex, but okay. So as a child, there was just different things where people were insensitive to maybe the struggle. There were times when I was in like high school, people would be quoting Dave Chappelle to me, and David Chappelle is a comedian that says a lot of N words and things like that. And when you're quoting that to me as a black person, it's just like that. Ugh, that just feels gross. It doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel gross. Okay. All right. So West Coast definitely racist in some areas. You get into the foothills there, into the mountains. Definitely a little bit of that. And the Midwest tends to, depending on where you go, kind of has a little bit of the people from the South there. It's like a different mix. So it depends. But like East Coast and West Coast definitely have a little bit of the prejudice racism going on. The Midwest, almost like a little safe haven. It's like the people coming down from Chicago, people coming up from Mississippi and Louisiana. There's kind of like people are kind of used to it, right? The church there, multicultural, all kinds of people. So yeah, it seems like the middle of the United States kind of like a meshing pot. I can't really speak to the PNW, Pacific Northwest, or the South area. But as far as these areas, yeah, there's definitely those separations in society of different people. I can see even this in this neighborhood where I reside right now. They don't see too many of me, so I do get the looks and stuff. Yeah, good question all around. Thank you to you guys that ask questions. You guys can ask questions here. Let's see. Next one. Bear with me, guys. All right. Has it affected your education prospects or employment status? So, as an educated young man myself, if being black has affected my education prospects or employment statuses, like I haven't been really made known of that. I can only assume in many situations that being black has affected me, but I know many times I have gotten rejections. Is that because of my low experience? Is that because of too much experience? Who knows? Who knows? And how is being black linked with socioeconomic status? Okay. So, as a young person myself, I do not have, I guess, too much experience in this area as far as the social economic, like maybe buying houses or property, things like that. But what I can say is there have been areas that, there's been studies that have been done. There's been projects where people have gone into real estate offices. So like, hey, as a black man, I'd like to buy a certain property. They'll actually show them certain areas that they won't show white people, right? When a white person comes in there, they'll be like, hey, same age, same income, I'd like to look at something. They'll actually show them like, maybe you'd like to go over here because this area is kind of dangerous, if you know what I mean, So it's like different with that. And I just know that with the job market and things like that, they want experience. So I can understand that. But yeah, I'd like to think that that is not an issue. But for many people, yeah, like being black has kept them from going up and above, right? Are rich black people more sheltered from racism than poor black people? So yeah, I think in some ways this is very true. How it's like a class thing, right? If you're in certain classes, people see you in a different level. Maybe you dress differently. One thing that I must say though, when I was stopped by the cop, I was kind of dressed like this. Let me just give you a picture here, right? And had the hoodie on, so I was portraying a certain thing, right? But if I'm looking like this right here, for instance, people do treat you differently. So yeah, it's definitely a factor on race, on how you look, but there are people like, say you're in Manhattan, you're a rich CEO, and you're driving a Ferrari. No doubt you're going to get stopped, right? It's just dead giveaway. So yeah, I believe that your class definitely shelters you from different things because as a poor black person, maybe you're taking the bus, you have certain things you're dealing with, you see police on the regular, right? Maybe if you're, let's go back to the CEO, right? Perhaps he doesn't take public transportation and he has a yacht or a private jet that takes him to places. Maybe he sees less of certain things, but maybe he sees racism in different ways. Maybe people are judging him or whatever. All right. And how am I doing with the answers, guys? You can comment in the section there. All right. Did you feel discriminated against in high school? All right. So discriminated against, talking about race, um, maybe it was more of like social status. Maybe I didn't come for money. Maybe I wasn't really good at sports, something like that. More of like a clicky thing is the discrimination that I would see, perhaps, because there it's not like so in your face like in life. What is the way forward? That's a very big question. Very good question. I don't know if I have enough time to answer that here, but how do we get rid of bad parts of both black and white culture without things just spiraling into a power struggle? So when you say power struggle, I think you're talking about the struggle that the mainstream media is maybe trying to erupt with blacks and whites being against each other. But how do we get rid of the bad parts of both black and white culture? I believe that we get rid of the bad parts by caring, just like you guys are asking these questions, just by people wanting to sit down. I know it's cliche when I say this, but when people want to sit down and listen, see what the other side has to say. I had a young man, a friend of mine from school, who came to me. He was like, James, I don't I don't really necessarily understand everything. Please help me understand what this is about. Right? So I got with him and talked about the questions that he had and some of the questions I had. One of the biggest questions I had was like, what's the Confederate flag to some other people, right? And my question was like, what is this half smile? Why do people do it? Right? So, yes, I think sitting down, talking, communication, relationships, right? It's hard to hate someone that you have a relationship with. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Next question. How have you been profiled by police or had other racist encounters with law enforcement? Well, how much time do you have? All right. And I'm not discounting the fact that maybe in many situations there were things that they saw that were an issue, right? Like the tail light being out, just like Katie had talked about. This is real things. But in other situations where maybe I'm parked in front of the neighbor's house and the cop wants to get all my information and my housemate's information, like for what? Like nothing happened. We're good. Or when people, and this is not cops, but it just came to my mind. Maybe when I'm walking past someone's car and they like lock their car 3 times, it's just like every time once they lock it past the second beep, I'm like, you know, I just think for a second, like, that's interesting that they would do that, right? After a second, just for everyone out there, after you lock it second times, I get it. You lock it the first time, you want to make sure it's locked, so you lock it the second time. Once you get 3 beeps, it's like, you're thinking that I gotta make sure it's locked, right? But all right, so how have you been profiled by police or had other racist encounters with law enforcement? So I believe that the measures taken to keep the officers safe in the situations that I've been in with the encounters, I believe were excessive. Because like me, me dangerous. This is like super disturbing, but kind of like weird. All right, so there was this guy that was he was like a leader of some cult in the mountains, and he had like multiple wives. And when the police took him in to like be booked, he was in prison or something, and they had like the phone call. You know how they're on the other side of the wall. Anyways, on like he told him that he was like, I'm just a little boy. So when I was thinking about like people seeing me as a threat, it would be hilarious if I was like, oh no, I'm just a little It was super creepy the way he said that, but it just cracked me up. Anyways, so yeah, I believe I have been profiled by police. I was in Kentucky one time. Shouldn't have been there, but I was there, and there was a bunch of traffic. I was changing lanes, and this police gets behind me, comes up, whoop, whoop, swims behind me, and I get off to the side. So he asked me the question. He's like, "Hey, so you ever been in trouble before?" And I like to keep things congenial and happy and jovial. So I said, "Not yet." That was the wrong thing because he called for backup. He had me out the car. He searched my stuff, pretty much tore up my car just because of one joke. He like as soon as I said that, he's like, "Yeah, he's up to something. I can tell." So yeah, I believe from various interactions like that, where it's just like excessive force. When you tighten up the handcuffs that much, it's just like, yeah, there is maybe a little bit of prejudice there. Let's see, profiling. Yeah, can you even call yourself black if you haven't been profiled racially? It's a good question. All right, any tips for starting constructive conversations with my black friends about BLM and their experiences without coming across like I'm making assumptions? So that is a very good question, and that I can tell is genuine all the way. All right. So let's just say that you have a best friend that was next to something that you owned. Perhaps it was this tube of fresh toothpaste here. And the last time you saw that tube of toothpaste, your friend was right next to you. How do you approach that? I was like, all right, so best friend, I don't want to assume anything. All right. I just remember last seeing my tube of toothpaste when you're here. When you're gone, it left. Have you seen it anywhere? So that's how you can come across to approach the subject of race with your black people. Just come with that genuine loving spirit. Be like, hey, black person. And you can say black person. It's okay. You don't have to be PC and say African American. So weird. Who's been to Africa, right? Where is that? Anyways, you can say, hey, black person, I love you. I don't want to make any assumptions. I don't get it. I don't get this, okay? Can you help me? Can you help me understand? Can you explain why Black Lives Matter? What's the big deal with Black lives? Why do they want to live? Just like explain to me. If I'm being racist right now, please tell me. Just come with that genuine, loving, humble spirit. And pretty much what all the race wars and stuff like that about, I believe, is from ignorance, misunderstanding, indifference, and that's right, a little bit of hate mixed in the mix there. But as long as you're willing to listen, right? We have two of these, one of these. As long as you're willing to listen to someone else's point of view, maybe walk 2 miles in their shoes, something like that. That's the spirit that you want to have with this. And I think you guys will be all right. If I have helped any of you guys understand anything, be sure to comment, like, or subscribe for more. I'm just looking here to see if. All right, so, and this person asks to any tips for starting constructive conversations with my black friends about BLM and their experiences without coming across like I'm making assumptions. All right, so I will say that not every black person is alike, just like not every person is alike in that way. So I don't necessarily believe, or yeah, I don't necessarily believe in everything BLM is pushing. Main thing, defunding the police, right? Now there's like good police, bad police, right? Defunding the police. I don't know if that's the best thing, even though they've had me in cuffs, right? But taking money away, maybe retraining would be more beneficial to everyone, right? Retraining, maybe relationships, right? Try making friends with a cop, huh? How about that? Try. I won't make any jokes there. All right. So just try. And, when I see cops these days, I really do work on saying something, maybe making them laugh, but usually does not work when they have a gun to you or they're pulling you over. Jokes are usually not good in that time right there. But yeah, respect is a big thing right there. So without making assumptions. So I almost think it's hard not to make assumptions because assumptions are prejudging, right? That's how we put people into boxes. So I say just own what notions that you have and address those. I wouldn't say like diminish them or push them away, but like really face those things head on, right? Be like, why do I feel this way? Where did I get this from? And I think that's where you'll get ultimate truth on what's happening inside of you, right? And it's really powerful when you as a person talk to another person, you guys can really go at this head to head. Well, okay, that's interesting. Tell me why you feel that way. Oh, really? Well, this is what it's been like for me. You felt that way? I told a young friend of mine that I thought he was not a cool person when I first met him, but through talking and communicating, we saw that each other were pretty decent people. I think that comes down to relationships. How many people that are your best friends have you hated? How I'm running out of words here. Let's see. So is this going to be a live stream or a regular vid? So this has been a live stream and quite good one. May I ask? Trump cracks me up, by the way. All right, so if this has been a benefit, please tell me. If it hasn't, please tell me that as well. I want to make sure that we're having some good, open conversation. And all right, let me just see. Let me just see if this person. How did it look? I think I'll just let this person have some peace. Okay, so very good. I hope this has been beneficial to you guys. I will go ahead and end this. But before I go, comment, like, subscribe, and everybody wants to go to heaven. Hopefully, when I end this, it'll be online so you can fast forward, rewind, and just get me back where I had my words mixed up. All right, this has been very, very good. All right, hopefully, we can do another one with some guests. I don't know how that works, but okay, I will see you guys later.